Now, in order to work with databases, so I'm going to divert a little bit away from pandas here and focus on working with databases specifically. Whenever you're working with databases, that's very separate in terms of Python as when you're working with pandas, because Python has to interact with the SQL language before it's able to be interpreted in a manner where pandas will understand it, because pandas is built on Python, not SQL. So whenever you're working with databases in Python, we utilize a particular library called SQL Alchemy. You can go and download this package. I'm sure it comes in Anaconda. Just check before you go and install it, but I'm sure it comes in Anaconda. So SQL Alchemy allows you to work with an array of different SQL or structured databases. So we're going to import the function create engine from SQL Alchemy. Sorry. We're going to import the function within SQL Alchemy called create engine. And create engine essentially allows you to either create a new database file or refer back to a database that already exists, whether hosted or within your local machine. So whenever you're creating the engine, first of all, you emphasize or you specify what type of SQL-based database is it going to be. SQLite, yes, that was the other type of database. So you can work with SQLite, you can work with MySQL, you can work with SQL, vanilla SQL, or you can work with Postgres. And in this case, I'm specifying that I want my database to be held in memory instead of an external file. So when I create this database, I'm going to attribute it to the object called engine. Now, this engine is what allows the SQL structure code to be translated into Python, and then that can be attributed into something that pandas can understand. So I can create a simple dictionary here with values from A to D as my keys, and each key has a list of other values. So when I take a look at my data frame, this is what I have here. My columns as A to D and a couple of foo's and bars and ones and twos. It's pretty gibberish. Now, when I want to save this particular data frame to my SQL database, I call my data frame variable, which is df, dot to SQL, and then I give it a name. Now, this name won't be a file. This name will be the table within my SQL file. Because yet again, engine is representing a database, and a database is a collection of tables, queries, forms, reports, all that stuff of thing. So I give my database a particular table name of which it's going to create and save this information, and it's going to be referring back to my database that I created here called engine. Now, when I want to re-import this information back into my pandas environment, I simply call in pd.read_SQL. I give it the table name, in this case was my comp, and then I tell it the connection between Python and the database itself to be my given engine. So engine here, yet again, is a representation of my database in a form of which can be translated into a Python script of which pandas can then understand. And that's why I had to declare what my engine was at the very beginning, utilizing create engine from SQL Alchemy.